Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. I want to read you a poem. This poem is called Autobiography in 5 Short Chapters. And I remember this poem or this piece of writing from like middle school or high school. I remember it showing up and thought it was cute. It kind of had like a Shel Silverstein vibe to me. But one of my colleagues actually brought it to my attention and was using it in a leadership development course where we're really challenging people to think differently about the way that we manage, to think differently about the way that we lead. And I found it really, really influential in my adult life as well. And so I wanted to start there as we think through what it is that really makes us grow and develop over time. And so here we go. So chapter 1, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk, and I fall in. I'm lost. I'm hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend that I don't see it, and I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault, and I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. And this is a poem by Portia Nelson. And I started there because we're in the last week of our Mud Puddles series. And in this series, we've been talking about just kind of getting more comfortable with some of the difficulty in our lives and being able to bring our faith into that difficulty. Instead of our faith just always being, equipped for all the sunny side and hope of the world, and in our everyday lives, but also like being able to go into some of the hard places. And it's a process of being able to recognize like this is hard, being even able to name this is difficult and I don't like where this is, but it's okay. Being comfortable not having all the answers. Also realizing that other people around us, like we're not alone in the challenges. We all have challenges. And then we started to look at, okay, so then what's next? Like, it's not enough to just say, like, this is terrible, no good, forever and always. It's, let's go there, let's give ourselves permission to feel the dark and the hard and the difficult, but then what happens from there? And so today's video is called Walk Around, right? That autobiography in 5 short chapters says, I walk around, and then at some point I choose to go down a different road. And so the thing that really stood out to me was I think it gives us permission, like chapters 1 and 2 realize like there's some stuff in our lives and sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes, if we get better at something, then by definition we have to have been worse at it at some point. And for us to overcome, at some point we also had to face difficulty. And so this autobiography in 5 short chapters gives us permission to say like, this is hard. And I'm in a difficult spot. I maybe even have been, like, I may have screwed up. I'm just not ready to walk around yet. Like, it took 3 chapters of the same mistake or sitting in difficult spaces. And I think that our faith should be able to sit there in difficulty up to 3 chapters, right? And maybe even beyond. But at some point, we want to start moving forward. And when we bring our faith to this picture, there's a great verse that I think almost maps really well onto this autobiography in 5 short chapters. It's Philippians 3, 12 through 14. And this is the Message version. I just felt like it was normal language. It says, I'm not saying that I have this all together, that I have it made, but I'm well on my way. Like I'm reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out to me, right? Like I'm looking ahead. I understand that I've fallen in a puddle. I've sunk in a deep hole. And Jesus was with me throughout that. And Jesus knows I'm worth more than I am soaking wet and dirty. And I am comfortable with that. And then he says, friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this. So even though I've overcome even though I'm better, that doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. I'm just like here saying, I've been through that, and I've learned, and I don't need to go through it again. And he goes on to say, but I've got my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward towards Jesus. I'm off and running, and now I'm not turning back. And so I love the idea. We said last week, like, don't look down. Like, when you're in really difficult stuff, don't get stuck in the rut of just kind of the woe is me, or like the deeper we dig that hole, the harder it is to get out. And I love that this verse essentially says, like, our faith is equipped to go with us into those places. Like, we don't have it all figured out. We're not expected to have it all figured out. And Jesus goes with us in those places, and then he also is excited. He's waiting right there outside of the mud puddle with a towel and saying, there's better. And you can be better, and you now have overcome. And what are you going to do with that overcome? And so in our faith, I would just challenge us this week. I would say one of two things. One is, what are those things that we might have learned from? That now that maybe we're out of the mud puddle or we're ready to climb out, what are the things that we can look back on and say, I'm going to walk around, or I'm just going to change an entire habit so that I don't put myself back in this street with a big hole in it. Like, how do I avoid that in the future? So that's like a personal introspection piece. But the secondary thing is, again, we don't live this life alone. And some of our challenges, some of the things that we've been through may help somebody else. So to be able, like Jesus does from this verse in Philippians, that like be there calling people on to the next level, not right when they fall in the mud puddle, not right when they face difficulty, but to be able to sit with them, go with them in those places, and then also cheer people on, encourage them, and help them move beyond, because you've probably walked through it before, or you know somebody who has. And then we get to the spot where we say, I'm moving on. I'm off and running, and there is no turning back. Thanks for watching Faith in 5. If you like what you see, please like and share. If you're interested in making a donation to our ministry, please click the link below.